All right. Hello,
Woo!
everyone. Welcome back to the Unseen Journey. I'm your host, Guy, with my co-host, Ashley. And today, our special guest is Tony. If you haven't done so already, do us a favor. Reach down there, hit the like and subscribe button. We're bringing you lots of great content. Whether you're a veteran, a family member, you just know veterans, or you're just curious about the Unseen Journey, we'd like to have you here with us. So, Ashley, where are we getting started?
Okay, Guy, are you ready for this one? I'm very excited. We're also on our best behavior because we have a board member here with us today. So we have.
I should have just. I didn't. We're gonna take a time out. I'll be right back. I gotta get out of my glass box of emotions now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but Tony's pretty cool. We have Tony Panettiere. He is a retired U.S. Navy captain who served for 25 years. He worked as a flight surgeon at a Naval Air Test Center at the Patuxent River. Which included a deployment to Operation Desert Storm. He then trained in neurology and sleep medicine, which is what we're really going to talk to him about. Tony was like, I'm prepared to talk about everything sleep, and man, do we need it. Such a common thing with veterans, so excited to hear about that. And then he was instrumental in starting the National Intrepid Center of Excellence. And after 11 years working there, he then retired again. And I told him about this when I met him at our gala a couple weeks ago. I was like, ooh, double retirement checks. We love that. We love that, right? He's also married to his wonderful wife, Nancy, and they have a couple kiddos and grandchildren. And he also volunteers for his local church as well as the Billy Graham online evangelism ministry. And so we're going to kind of get into all that.
You know, I hear all that, right? And the first thing I'd like to kind of point out real quick, just for my, non-Navy people out there, Captain, really an 06, right? So in the Army, full bird colonel, is that correct, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing I want to throw out there, Ashley, this is our second Desert Storm. No, this is our third Desert Storm guest that we've had on.
Spike, Spike.
Yeah, I think that's
Dee
pretty cool. Dee Dee, and now Tony. And then Tony, to lead in with you, I've been through a couple of the Billy Graham programs actually out at the Cove in Asheville, North Carolina. My wife and I attended some of the military couples retreats out there. They're very cool. The one that's near and dear to my heart, that's super special, and I know it couldn't have happened any other way. They hosted a men's retreat, and I'm gonna say it this way: the speaker was Coach Tony Dungy, and the preacher was James Brown, and that man can get people out of their seats. So yeah, for sure. So, like Ashley said, right, double retirement. You've done a ton of things. How did you get involved with ORW Foundation? How did you become one of our board members?
I go to church with Bill Armstrong, actually, and he and I have been one of our board members. Yeah, a board member. And so once he joined, after I guess maybe a year he's with you, he asked me. He said, "I think we need somebody more with at least some medical background on the board," and they asked me if I would do it, and I was happy to, obviously, because this has sort of been what I've been doing for a long time, and I'm completely out of medical practice right now after retirement almost 2 years ago. So, but happy to share, what I've learned along the way and insights to continue to help veterans if I can.
That's cool.
I love it. Well, before Ashley, we get you read my mind, Guy. You read my mind because I know you were like, Ashley, your wheels are turning, and they are. Because before we get into your expertise, tell us about what it was like being a flight surgeon in Desert Storm.
Well, it was an eye-opener. I had just gotten married a few months earlier, and then I got the call to go on the deployment. And I was not expecting it because down at Patuxent River, we do Naval Air Test Center. So a lot of the aircraft they take from the manufacturers get tested to see if it's still going to meet the regular requirements for the military. And so it's very dangerous flying for the pilots because they're going as fast and turning as hard as they can to see if the wings fall or not, that sort of thing. So so at any rate, I got pulled to the Gulf where I was on what they don't have anymore, but an LST was a sort of a flat bottom ship that would be able to come up on the beach and offload vehicles and tanks and things. So I was with those guys waiting for the war to start. and we just happened to move inland on the night that we didn't know the war was about to start. They're like on inland now, and just as I was getting off the boat and bust into the base I was heading to, they started firing Scud missiles. So we were Mach 4 from the get-go.
You were like, I guess we're ready to
Yeah,
go.
Nice.
Ready. And
Yeah.
up at the sky and thinking, wow, what does a missile look like right before it hits you? So for 3 weeks, we had like three missile launches a night that they could detect, but we didn't know if it was coming our way or not. And so on the medical side, I didn't have a lot to do. Fortunately, we did very well in that. It was a short engagement. But the fact that I could go three weeks with so little sleep because of the constant, missile attacks, gave me a huge appreciation for just that mental part of battle and how you can wear people down without ever really hitting them with any munitions.
Yeah, and Tony, that's a really cool point you're making, right? So when I think about combat situations, right, it's like 30 seconds to a minute of all out, just your adrenaline's through the roof. You're doing everything you can to hold it down because you want to keep using all those fine motor skills. And then it's like hours of people are gathering information, preparing for missions, practicing for missions, doing all those things. And yet I think about, so like when I was in Sadr City, Iraq, a typical night for me was like 4 hours of sleep. Like that was like threshold, right?
Right.
And yeah, I might be able to catch like an hour nap or a 2 hour nap here or there. And then you come home and it's so hard to unwire from that that work cycle, right? That you were in. So I'm gonna jump straight into what you do as a doctor because I'm curious, like
Yes.
do you see patients that come in kind of from that heightened state, and how do you start to kind of like transition them back into any kind of like normal sleep pattern?
Absolutely right. So a lot of the patients, and I saw a lot of the tier 1 operators, they would often say that night was game on for them, right? And so everyone else is tired, relaxing, can't wait to fall asleep, but to them that's when they worked. And so it's something that takes a while to flip over when you get back from a deployment, especially a kinetic one like that, where you were really reinforced that, hey, the person who sleeps at night gets killed, or is not ready, or the enemy sneaking up on you. So you're rewarded for being alert at night and potentially worried about being injured or killed if you're not. And so then to just pop you back into Maryland or Virginia and say, okay, we're not doing that anymore, is not easily offset. So the tendency for most people was to just run themselves into the ground exhausted with little sleep at night, maybe sleeping in the day, which is countering your circadian rhythm, to be sleeping when there's light out and the family and there are things to do. And so it does take, I always remind people, it's going to take you a while to flip it over, just like it does with jet lag when you fly from around the world. But the tendency for people would be struggle when they might start to drink alcohol, which does work for a while, does make you sleepy, it does help you to fall asleep. But the sleep you get is not normal sleep because of the way the alcohol gets metabolized off. It doesn't allow you to go through the normal sleep cycles. And then the other tendency is to want to take medications, over-the-counter Benadryl or NyQuil, or ask for prescription Ambien, things like that. My experience with most patients is they don't want to be on pills. They kind of they overlook the fact that alcohol is sort of a medication, obviously, but they're desperate, and you do what you need to do because you're so desperate for sleep and you can't function without it.
Yeah.
And man, do we see that a lot. I mean, geez, do we ever hear about veterans and the drinking and the no sleep? It's like, if there were a handful of things that is so general to the veteran population of veterans who are struggling. You see that alcohol use, you see that it's sleep problems, those sleep disturbances, and wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
actually it's really cool that you say that. Sorry, Tony. I'll throw it back your and Ashley's way, because when you start talking about like the no pills, right? Like a lot of veterans and their families are like, well, kind of what are the other options? When I remember going on my individual male retreat, 4 years ago. And, it was when we still had the beach house out near Houston, Texas. And, that was the first time I got introduced to the Alpha Stim. And, the big thing I remember about the Alpha Stim, first of all, I was like, cool, this is like an electronic machine that's going to massage my brain. Let's go. When we were introduced to it, they were like, hey, it may or may not work for you the first time, right? So I was the kid in the crew who went and grabbed the Alpha Stim. Like, if I was feeling sleepy after an ART session, so accelerated resolution therapy, where I had worked on a trauma situation, or I was starting to get sleepy, post dinner, I was jumping on the Alpha Stim, twice a day. I think there was even a day where I jumped on it 3 times a day to try to figure out where it would dial into my brain. And honestly, that was some of the best sleep. Like, you're right. Pills, alcohol, I can raise my hand, got it, check the block. And then when I got introduced to the Alpha Stim through ORW Foundation, and what was even better than that was ORW Foundation, helped all the people who go through the individual, combat veteran, female veteran retreats understand, like, well, how can you go get one of these issued to you for free from the VA? Because they're not cheap. They're like $1,400 or something. So I'm kind of curious from both of you, maybe Ashley, and then back to Tony. Like, what are your thoughts on like Alpha Stim or other like alternatives you use for sleep?
Well, I think it's so interesting what Tony said, because we often go to those easy things, right? It's easy. Alcohol is very easy to access. It's quick. It's a social norm for a lot of people, but it is that quick fix. And so I think that I love the alternatives to those quick fixes that are healthier for us. Because the bottom line is we want to feel better. We want to feel better. We want to sleep better. We want to be more rested. But how can we do it in a way that's going to be better for us in the long term? And I love that, Tony, that you said it's a quick fix. It's good for a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, the Alpha Stim, so when I worked in National Intrepid Center of Excellence, I was after the Navy, after civilian practice. I was there the last 11 years before I retired, and that's the project Mr. Fisher built. He was like 85 houses into the Fisher houses. He built the National Intrepid with the question to the leadership of the Navy was that what do you need next? And they said, well, we have a lot of guys wearing great body armor who are getting their computer wrong, and that where they would have died in the past or been seriously injured, they're so well protected, but the computer is not well protected, and they have memory problems, they have sleep problems afterwards. And we studied that for as they continue to do now. But we started. I was everyone who stood it up, and for 11 years we were giving Alpha Stims out. We were studying. Everybody got an MRI and an exhaustive workout for the month they were with us. So Alpha Stim does help for some people. There's very rarely anything in medicine that works for everybody, as you can imagine. The nice thing about Alpha Stim, there's really no harm in trying it. There's not, it either works or it sort of doesn't work. It isn't like, oh, look at all the side effects I have on it, or, other than getting, if you get it issued to you, like we were doing, then it gives you a try to say, hey, does this work for you? And it's not meant for life. It's just meant to transition you to fall asleep a little quicker while we work on other things, right, that are keeping you awake. And so I always reminded people that the pressure to sleep gets to be intense after a while when you haven't had it. And so you start going into performance mindset that I've got to sleep tonight. Because I can't think, I'm irritable.
It feels like so much pressure.
I'm falling asleep and meaning exactly. So because you think like that and you're used to it, most military people are like, hey, we need to do this. We just do it. And but unfortunately, when you try to do sleep, it counters your ability to do it. It's one of the rare things in life that you don't want to try to sleep. So it is actually better to try to stay awake with that in your mind as you lay in the dark than to try to fall asleep.
Oh, that is interesting.
Right.
That's a cool little tip to like counting sheep, but actually try not to fall asleep.
Try not, exactly. which for a lot of times will help you to fall asleep. So all you can do are things conducive to sleep. You can't make yourself sleep. So the main thing is to use light to your advantage. I always like people to wake up when the sun is coming up, even if you don't have to get up yet. Even on like the weekends, you want to wake up around the same time, plus or minus an hour. So if you get up at 6 on the weekdays, no later than 07 on the weekends. And that's about where the sun is coming up now. And if you do that, that sort of starts the internal clock that's about 16 hours long in your brain. And so that'll allow you then, if you got up at say 7, you should be somewhat sleepy by 11 at night on, that night. And that helps promote the melatonin and your ability to start to fall asleep. I like people to work out every day, which is, for most people, they're able to do that unless they got injured. You want to do things and make yourself tired. And then there's a whole routine I'll talk about in a minute about where's your mind, your headspace when you're trying to fall asleep? How do you get into a good place before you actually go to the bed?
Tony, you said exercise, right? You said workout. And one of the things I love hearing is, veterans will come through, couples, individuals, and they're like, oh, we're going to start working out. I'm like, cool. How much do you work out now? And they're like, we don't. I was like, great. What's your goal? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the gym for like 3 to 4 times a week for, an hour to 2 hours. And I'm like, no, because that's what we do a lot of times, right? It's that same mentality when we were in combat. It's like zero or hero, right? So the simple thing I always share with them is exercise can be as simple as when you're on a phone call, walking around your house. It can be that simple. Mm-hmm. Like literally, you have a phone call and it's to your, aunt, uncle, whoever, best friend, and they're going to chat with you for longer than 5 minutes. Just stand up and walk around your house. Like that's it. And I might have missed this, so I apologize if I'm going back. Our last guest was a GSD. She was a good soccer driver. No, just kidding. German Shepherd dog owner.
A GSD.
I'm also a German Shepherd dog owner. Yes. And my dog Finn is trained in pressure and distraction. One of the interesting things is, I haven't had a lot of like really bad nights since I've had Finn, because he does allow me like another level of relaxation, like knowing like he's alert on guard. I had one night though where I combat rolled out of bed, getting out of the way of something. And my wife was like, are you okay? I mean, luckily, like I literally landed in like a seating shooting position. And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. I had to get out of the way of something. I have no idea what the hell it was. And she's like, and then she starts laughing because she knew I was okay. But a lot of times Finn, with pressure, he will intuitively get into the bed and lay on me like a weighted blanket. And that's another tool, my dog. And then also weighted blankets was another tool that I use actually with my kids. Because those are, like, to me, those have become really staples in my house. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that kind of stuff.
There have been a number of people who swear by the weighted blanket. They tried it. They were willing to try anything that doesn't have any negative aspect to it, right? So, like the Alpha-Stim, the weighted blanket, sort of changing your lifestyle a little bit, kind of things that like working out. And so most people are agreeable and hopeful that'll work. And I think that's perfect because that's kind of the best sleep you can have is natural sleep, not relying on other, external things like medications and alcohol. So, and so that's always working toward getting somebody to sleep. Like I always said, I want you to sleep like you're 8 years old. You just go to bed and you're out.
Oh,
right? That kind
those
of thing.
were the days. I tried to tell my 6-year-old son that. Now I'm like, just enjoy this, please. There's literally nothing to complain about.
Right. We're in the world.
Yeah. Okay, Ashley, I gotta throw you a story in here because Tony just sparked a beautiful memory, right? So my son is probably like 7. I'm gonna guess 7, and very headstrong. I have no idea where he gets it from. I think Kelly, and I gotta give her credit, right? And he's playing with Legos, and we're like, dude, you're like falling asleep while you're playing with Legos. Why don't you go to bed? And he's like, no, I'm not tired yet. And so the first time it happens, he literally just falls over asleep. Luckily, no impact, nothing negative. Just we noticed, like we go look, because he was playing with the Legos in our bathroom. So we go look, and he's just asleep, right?
Oh.
Fast forward, I don't even know, like let's say like 4 months later, 6 months later, we see him in our bathroom playing with Legos again. This time he stands up and he's walking out of our room. We're like, Grant, are you okay, dude? Are like everything good? He's like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. We're just like,
okay.
Awesome.
Good job.
Do it. Yeah, we're like, do it. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So cute.
For sure.
Well, that's a good point because I always tell people don't go to bed until you're ready to fall asleep. And so stay in the family room, read a book, don't have the TV on, and you just stay there. When you start nodding off, you're kind of ready for bed. So if you got a shower, you already did it. You brush your teeth, you're just down there waiting to get sleepy at whatever time. So it's not about, a lot of times patients would tell me, hey, I make sure I'm in bed at 10 because I got to get up at 6. Well, if you fell asleep at 10, that wouldn't be so bad, but they wouldn't fall asleep for 1. So they sort of wasted 3 hours trying to fall asleep. And again, I told you can't perform sleep. So I would just say you stay down in the chair. Better to fall asleep in your recliner than to be awake in your bed. And you stay there until you're asleep.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that natural sleep. Well, I want to hear some more of these strategies, and I'm sure, Guy, this is gonna get your wheels turning too. So, Tony, can you share any success stories or case studies where implementing these effective sleep management strategies, you saw them improve the well-being of military units?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I had the good chance to practice this on 2 new patients every week for the last 11 years. So,
oh wow.
So the routine we talked about a little bit, I've introduced, is that you get up around the same time every morning, and you want your brain to see light. So get the blinds open, go outside, walk the dog, get a little bit of light into your brain so that it turns off the sleepy clock, turns on the alert clock. And so that'll start the 16-hour cycle of your your alertness for the day. And then, like I said, get a workout in for an hour, try to do it every day. It could be weights, cardio, combination, nothing particular, but something that you expend some stress and energy, and it helps to relax you begin to relax you for the balance of the day. Best time to work out's the morning, then at lunch, and right after work. And I always tell people, don't work out in the evening. I mean, I guess better than nothing, but the problem with working out too late is it raises your adrenaline levels as normal physiology for working out, and that therefore makes it hard to fall asleep. So most people in the military tend to work out in the morning. That's been my experience. And then the routine is you stay in your recliner down in the family room until you start to feel sleepy. When that starts to happen, then you go to the bed. You always it's worth spending money on a good mattress. I don't have any particular recommendations on what to buy. It's whatever feels good to you. I've had people that ran through the 30-day trial on like 10 beds, until they kind of found one that works. And if you're
see? Right, those people are my heroes because I feel like I never follow through with that, but I want to. Yeah. Right?
Right. Or they give you 100 days, I think. So that's a lot of movers in your house every 3 months. Taking a little bit. Yeah, right.
Tony, this just made a must play for my wife because her version of picking out mattresses is based on the dollar sign. And the one time I've been able to get past that, I spent 15 months in Iraq, operational, and it was like 07, 08 time frame. So putting up the gold wall, Mighty Militia was still rocking. And I get home and she goes, okay, what's the big ticket item you want to purchase? She's like, do you want a car? Do you want like some crazy TV? And I was like, I want the nicest mattress money can buy. I was like, I don't care what it costs. I was like, I want to go find it and I want to buy it. And she just laughed at me.
Oh, that's funny.
But you're right. Yeah. Like it matters.
It does. You can sure tell the amount of sleep you get that when you sleep on a good mattress and you're like, man, this was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Yeah. What do you use 8 hours a day? Really nothing else. You don't use your car. Right. So it's worth finding the right. If you're very different than your spouse as far as firmness and softness, pays to get the kind that you can independently operate.
The levels.
Or they don't necessarily have to move, but they should have the variable, like a sleep number type of system.
Oh yeah, we want to know, Tony, what kind of bed do you have? Do you have one of those kinds?
Ooh, nice.
Well, my partner are pretty close to the same desire as far as how firm it should be. So it's just I don't know. It's probably like, I can't remember. We pay maybe $1,500 beauty rest.
Okay, that's a good price range because some can be really like thousands. Multiple thousands.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then we were in Phoenix a few weeks ago. There was a Casper store there, which I'd never been in, a showroom with these purple mattress things. And they have all different, firmness and thickness and pillow top and all that business. So it really is just what feels good to you. There's really not a lot of science to this.
That's what we have. We have the purple.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Good. So there's a ton to pick from, and there, Consumer Reports and those things don't really help you when it comes to comfort. Depends if you have a lot of musculoskeletal issues, where maybe if your back hurts, you might do a little better on a firmer mattress. If your spouse moves a lot, then you want a sort of an isolating mattress so it doesn't transmit the movements to your side. So, and then the other is that some are heated and cooled, which I don't recommend necessarily, because if that goes out, you're kind of done with the bed. One of the things we used to recommend, and we had in our sleep lab, was a unit called a bed jet. So it's just a unit that fits underneath the bed. It's a heater cooling unit, and it blows through a hose, and then it's got a vent that you put down near your feet. And you can either use one that blows up on both sides of the bed, or if you have a king bed, you can use two, which is what we have. And then if your feet are chilly at night, you just flip the bed jet on. It blows on your feet. It runs for whatever time you set it, like 5 or 10 minutes. I'll usually use it on mine. And then it shuts off. You're good to go. So especially if you might be the same, you and your spouse might be the same as far as, hey, the mattress is comfortable, but one sleeps hotter or colder than the other. So the bed jet is an excellent solution. It's about $300, and they're a great company. I've been using their products. We have like one in every bed in the house just because it was sold on it. But,
shout out BedJet. Come on, BedJet. We need your sponsorship.
I know, right?
I've never heard of that, Tony,
I mean,
and I'm looking it up, and it's like, yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it really works
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and actually, this is all a game changer for me, you know. So like, my wife and I are very different temperature sleepers, right? So like, you know, I live down in Florida. We could have the house on, I don't even know, 76 degrees, right? And I'm trying to stay hydrated and not, you know, pass out from heat exhaustion, and she's in full sweats, and then she's under two comforters. And I can't even lay in the bed.
Oh my
I'm
God.
telling you, same.
All right.
My husband and I have the same thing, and so the purple mattress is great for that movement thing, because my husband's constantly tossing and turning, and I'm fine now with the purple mattress.
Nice.
You don't feel anything. Even then, we got the dogs and the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, actually though, I gotta highlight one golden nugget. I think everyone missed out on it, right? And Tony, I'm totally gonna use this line on Kelly. So. I'm going to have to use it before she sees the episode. And it's, hey, how much money did we spend on our cars? And you want to spend how much on the mattress?
Right. And we're on it 8 hours a day. Yes, straight.
That's right.
Right.
That's going to be the follow-up point. Are you anywhere else for 8 hours a day continuously? No. Because she's a teacher. She walks around all day. You know?
Right.
It's so funny how we are about money. I know. I'm the, I think about, I'm like, I'm not going to pay $3.99 to rent this movie on Amazon, but then I'll think about the other things you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Totally. It's like weddings, right? Wait, you would never spend that kind of money on anything else. Throw the band in, throw the caterer.
Yeah.
For one night of fun.
Right. For one night.
That you only really kind of remember because of all the photos, because you were so busy with all the like handshaking and hugs and congratulations. You're just like, what just happened? Oh, you got married. Oh, okay, cool. You know, it's just like, what?
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
So let me
for sure.
give you a couple more pointers about the sleep issue.
We
so when
love
you go
pointers.
On the headspace part, I mentioned earlier, sometimes it helps to think about staying awake. But what I like people to actually do when they're sitting in the chair waiting to get sleepy, they're reading. It helps to do a little bit of writing. So I have people keep a notebook, and this is your chance to kind of clear the slate in your mind. You have things to do tomorrow, things that are worrying you from 10 years ago. It helps to just write it down, and in a way, it figuratively dumps it into the book that only you'll be looking at. So tomorrow morning, better rested, you can review. Oh yeah, I got to mow the grass. I got to do this or that. But you can dump and park that there, because a lot of times people worry about forgetting it. So the book will go on your nightstand at night. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and go, oh, wow, I forgot that. The tendency is, if you don't have a book to write it in, is to start to ruminate about it, how you're going to fix this or do it. Mm-hmm. So I just tell you, crack the book, write it in, turn the light out, put it back up, put it back down. And that way, that's kind of your peripheral brain to help to hand the worries of life to the book for the night. And you're just going to have everything else to settle in on.
And it's safekeeping.
For safekeeping.
Ooh.
It's only free because
Tony, hold on. He just gave us our unseen nugget right there.
Mm.
You said put the worries of life into the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
Am I paraphrasing that correctly?
Exactly right.
That's beautiful. Mm. Put the worries of life into the book. That, I mean,
they're gonna be there. They're awesome. Not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so many of us, and I'm sure this is true with the patients you're seeing, Tony, we're coming in and you're just like, well, how much stuff do you got going on in your brain? It's like, How long you got, Doc? You know,
That's right.
because we're constantly just processing information.
Right.
We're getting fed so much information these days. It's like social media. I don't even know how many different apps. You know, then you got TV, you got life, kids, spouse, like just it doesn't stop all day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
put the worries of life into the book.
Okay, good.
That's it.
For
That's the nugget.
safekeeping. It's
I love
not
it.
going anywhere. We're not
I love
forgetting
it.
it. We're not shoving
Yeah.
it down somewhere. It's just, we're going to set it over here for a second so that we can
Woo.
get
That's right.
some sleep.
Yeah.
That's
We're
exactly right.
tired.
Yeah.
Yep. I always tell them just put it on the
Yeah.
shelf. That's right.
Oh,
So
man.
once you've kind of cleared your mind, then when you're in the bed and you're feeling like you're sleepy, then you want to do what's called mental imagery, which is helpful. That's what your brain does as it's falling asleep. It starts to see things. And so I always tell people that go to a place you've maybe been to, you love the scenery, like it's fall here in Virginia now, and there's all these beautiful trees. And so I'll just envision maybe where I walked today. Oh, that was such a nice walk. And I'll just be moving through the scene in real time like I'm there and not thinking of sleeping or staying awake. I'm just enjoying what I'm looking at. My eyes are closed, but the key is with your eyes, you want to be looking left and right. It's a little like EMDR, where they use the eye movement to help with processing traumatic experience for people that are not aware. So we pretend you're visualizing as you're walking while you look at it with just your eyes, not your head. And then just stay in that space. And usually the next thing you know, it's 6 a.m. and you're waking up.
Ooh.
It's a good way to fall asleep thinking about what you would like to think about.
This is making me sleepy now.
I gotta-
I'm like, okay.
Nice.
Well, it helps.
There you go. It's
Right?
yes, siesta, right? Like post lunch siesta. I think that's a real thing. Now I have a question for you because you just sparked a thought, and you know, and you might have experienced this with other combat veterans or other clients you've worked with. So I would be the kid that would walk in and if you asked me about my dreams, I'd be like, I can't tell you the last time I remember having a dream.
Right.
So what are your kind of like? Because I'm sure I've heard this from other veterans at retreats, and I'm sure there's a lot of us out there with kind of that question on the mind.
Question.
Well, like, what do you kind of, yeah. What is that process that's going on? What do you kind of recommend to me and others, right? Like when we say, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a dream. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, usually the only way you'll remember dreams is if you wake up in them or if they wake you up from a traumatic event. So most people will, if they remember, the best you usually can do is that I know I dreamt, I just don't remember what it was about. Because it's a very fragile memory even there. Again, unless it's traumatic, unless it's very vivid and you replayed something you might have been through before, you might remember that. But if it's just the normal run-of-the-mill, crazy kind of, that's never happened to me or I've never been there, you sort of know something happened. You don't exactly remember it, especially if you let 5 or 10 minutes go by in the morning when you get up, then it really goes away. So dreaming or not dreaming, your awareness of dreaming or not dreaming does not mean you're not dreaming. And I had plenty of patients in the sleep lab. When we hook up all the wires to your brain, we can see where you are in sleep through the night, deep sleep, light sleep, dream sleep. And so I often, one of the questionnaires we'd ask, do you think you dreamt last night? And many times people are like, no, I didn't dream. And then I'd show them the sleep study a few days later and go, yeah, you dreamt here for about half an hour and you dreamt over there for 20 minutes. Because when you're dreaming, one of the things that happens, your eyes start moving and looking left and right, like you're looking at the scene. And then the brain waves change as well. So we can pretty certainly know when you're dreaming. So most people do dream. And so usually most of your dreaming will happen in the latter half of the night. Most of your deep sleep is the first half of the night. And so you want people to dream. You want to see it. And you want to see if they have deep sleep as well. So at least I know that somebody's efficiently sleeping when they're sleeping. The question is, are they sleeping long enough? Are they sleeping soundly? Those would be the parts of it. But if you're hitting all the normal stages of sleep, then I feel reassured that, okay, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with your sleep. We just got to get more of it and keep it all in one set.
To follow those
8-hour setting.
techniques, those tips.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well,
That's
I have
cool.
a question for you, Tony. What do you foresee as the future of sleep medicine in the military? And do you know of any upcoming initiatives or research projects going on to further advanced sleep medicine?
Well, one of the ones they have been working on is, particularly in the Navy, there were issues with the shift work, where someone would be on 6 hours, off 6 hours. So the 6 hours you're off would often be for training, working out, things like that. But then then you back to work for 6 hours. The other 6 hours is supposed to be for sleep. Well, usually I didn't finish my training.
Yeah.
I'm not quite.
Just turn it off. Just turn it on, turn it off. Oh, okay.
Right. So it is still an issue in the Navy. They have not been able to figure out how to get people to sort of carve out, really, 6 isn't enough. You really need 7.5 to feel rested. And the other part about it, the berthing on the ships is not comfortable. You got a little space. If your feet are hanging on, you're hitting, people are coming in and out during the sleep period, because you might be sleeping at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's your night. And so it's not at all conducive for sleep. And that's why you get a lot of work-related mishaps and things like that can happen when people.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
All
right. I got one more funny question for you.
Yeah.
Ashley, have you ever seen those sleep pods? I know they're real popular in Asia. Mm-hmm. Where it's you can get into it at lunch for 20 minutes. You know what I'm talking about,
Ashley? I feel like I've seen it on movies about Facebook and Google, these workplaces that let you take naps during the day.
Google has them. Yeah. Yeah, there's these pods and you get into them and they're supposed to just block out the world, right? Apparently Michael Jackson was just way ahead in his technology for sleeping. But Tony, these sleep pods, these 20-minute sleep pods, I don't know, is it real? Is there science behind it? Is it just another way to make money, kind of like Monster? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think they do work. The question, though, is I'm always concerned if somebody needs a nap. Makes me look at what's wrong with your night, right?
Leave it to a sleep surgeon.
Right, right. So why are you needing to sleep in the day? Unless you're 2, maybe you shouldn't have to take a nap, right? So the things that make me think that you have undiagnosed sleep apnea. So though you're asleep 8 hours, your brain is not getting good sleep because you're not breathing well. Or is there something fragmenting your sleep at night that you're waking up a lot, maybe briefly, maybe a few seconds, but it's causing you to break out of your deep cycles of sleep and lighten up inappropriately. And it could be good reason for it. Maybe there's pain, maybe there's noises in the house, maybe it's PTS. All those things can cause your fragmentation. Mm-hmm. So anytime I hear somebody who habitually needs a nap and benefits from a nap, I'm not anti-nap. It just makes me say, why do you need that? Let's look at the night and try to figure out if we can get rid of the need for a nap. There shouldn't be a need in an adult to have a nap.
I like that.
So.
I love it.
Very cool.
Well, Guy, what do you think? Should we put Tony in the hot seat and ask him, what do you love about Operation Red Wings Foundation, Tony? We want to know, not only as a board member, but as our newest board member. And now that you've been with us for a couple months and you've been to our gala and heard some stories from some of our participants, what are your thoughts on how we, Guy and I, both fully believe it's life-changing? So what do you think? What's been your experience getting to know it?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be attending one of the the medical events in the near future.
Oh, nice!
But at least from the gala, I've seen the benefits that people saw. Some of the treatments they have, I'm well familiar with, the ART and some of the moral injury and chaplains and things like that to work with them. I think that the benefit also is that it helps the veteran who has served and maybe didn't get to go to a place like where I was working at NICO. They weren't eligible. They didn't know about it. They were just trying to get out of the military for whatever reason. So they are still hurting, still suffering. Their family is suffering, and there's still a very good option for them, and maybe their wife and them, or husband and them, and then their family and them, if that's shown to be possibly helpful. So it's not forgetting them, and I think that's helpful. Even though they've served and they're moved on to something else, they're still able to come.
I love that. Guy, how awesome! Since we've both been with the foundation, since we were formerly Lone Survivor Foundation and now Operation Red Wings Foundation, and really honoring and not leaving anyone behind. We're honoring, those who went before us, those who've given the ultimate sacrifice, and paying homage to those. We're still here. And there's so many tips and tricks and evidence-based practices that we can learn and benefit from. And wow, I love it.
Yeah. And I think some of that goes back to kind of what I was saying. Like, you know, I was fortunate, right? I did get to do some training, you know, diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing, whatever you want to call it, just to be able to calm down the adrenaline rush in combat. And that was with SOCEP, right? Special Operations Center for Enhanced Performance. I had never heard of an alpha stim. And I was one of those veterans that was like, yeah, sure, give me pills, doc. And I got, you know, 2 drinks a day. That's what I'm allowed, and I'm not an alcoholic. Great. You know, 11.3% beer by volume, you know, 16 ounce times 2. That counts, right? And so finding the alpha stim, which I found at then, right, Lone Survivor Foundation, now ORW Foundation, was an absolute game changer. And that's perhaps one of the things that I've really appreciated the most about the foundation is, and a lot of it stems from our board members, and some of it stems from volunteers, is keeping us on that front edge of medical technology, knowing that, you know, we all want to be 1% better each day. And it's how do we get 1% better without having to take the pills, without having to self-medicate through alcohol or drugs or whatever that is, right? Like habitual gambling, it doesn't matter, right? All, you know, it's interesting because when you said the sleep pod and then you said, well, how are they sleeping at night? That's exactly what I was thinking about when I was thinking about like all those other indicators, right? Are that someone is still really far into pain, into trauma. That's that unseen journey, right? They haven't been able to kind of break free of it. If they're doing all the pills and they're doing alcohol or drugs or whatever they're doing, right? And then just showing up to a retreat, learning about Alpha Stim. You know, I have one issued to me now through the VA. The VA pays for all my pads and gels. I don't pay a dime. And you know, when it dies, they're going to replace it for me.
Love y'all.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, look, the VA did something right.
They do a lot. I love them.
Actually, I think it's really cool. I think it's cool how the ORW Foundation brings in that technology and is constantly kind of shifting, right, some of those techniques and stuff we're using, right? Like that shift into ART from EMDR, right? Like I think that's awesome.
It's incredible. Yeah. Tony, wow. I feel like we learned so much from you. And it's going to be an amazing unseen journey. We don't know what the future is going to look like and what we're going to learn from you and be able to draw on your expertise. It's an honor to have you, to serve with you on the board of Operation Red Wings Foundation.
I feel the same. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. And I know one thing. Oh gosh, I hope you have the one before yours. I know the one thing that's coming out of this is, man, I'm going to be like, Kelly, how much did we spend on your Forerunner? 8 hours in the mattress.
Don't skip on. So
that's my takeaway.
Tony, so what we're doing right now, so what we introduced, so this is our 4th episode, and we knew we wanted to talk about unseen elements that we learn in the episode. And so that's what Guy and I are. So I always make a huge list, and he makes me,
and
he gives me one. And it's so hard because I learned so much from you. And I know our listeners did too. So Guy, who yours is, don't skimp on the mattress. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not gonna steal the other one. Hint, hint. That I already.
Yeah, no more, Guy. He always tries. See, he tells me one,
right.
but then he works in more than one. No.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so because you already had one in the episode too. Don't forget about that. So you're already negative.
Did I? What was that?
Yes.
Wait,
it was a good. It was a good one. You said
episode?
Put the worries of life into the book. That was a good one. It was. I'll give you that one.
I'm so glad that was.
Okay, no. So I have two
actually.
then. I have two. So, okay, so my first one, I love, Tony, what you said, that rarely in medicine does something work on everyone. It's such a good point, and which is a shout out to our retreats, because anyone who's been through a retreat, and those of you who are thinking about coming to a retreat, you don't learn just one thing. You learn multiple I mean, what I think we introduced like 15 different things in our retreats to see what works for you.
Yeah.
See what works for you, because
right.
not everything works. And I'm just going to say another one because this was so cool and I don't know how it ties into wellness. But I love when we were talking about the war zone, and I could totally relate to this. I was an early deployment person to 2004, and you can't tell the missiles that are going to hit you. You can't. They all look the same. And that was some interesting insight that brought me back, like thinking about.
Yeah.
See, that was a good one,
I feel for
guys.
the people who feel now, obviously, right? Because that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was like what, 3?
That was 2. This is so fun, evolving how these unseen elements work out.
All right. Well, I think I need to go ahead and say, on behalf of myself and my co-host Ashley, Tony, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And if you're a new listener to the Unseen Journey podcast, do us a favor, reach down there, hit the like and subscribe button. We're coming at you every week. So please, please, please stay tuned. Whether you're a veteran, a spouse, a member, or you just want to learn something, like how much money did you spend on your mattress compared to your car?